With this, ladies and gentlemen, we move to a section which is about the NASSCOM Innovation Awards 2013. As part of NASSCOM's vision for the next decade, the aim is to build a preeminent innovation hub in India. The NASSCOM Innovation Awards, which is presently in its 9th edition, in many ways sets the context for the future. Through this prestigious platform every year, NASSCOM has recognized organizations which are doing innovative work and adding a lot of value. This year, the nominations were invited in 3 categories: new technology innovation, business innovation, and process innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, the 5 award winners that you will see on stage this evening are the chosen ones out of 404 applications which we received this year. The jury round was held over 2 days, which is 25th and 28th January this year in Bangalore and New Delhi, respectively. This evening is really a culmination of the entire 3-month process when the top 20 shortlisted applicants presented to the jury. We now request our chief guest for the evening, Shri Milind Deora, Honorable Minister of State for Communications and IT, to please come on stage. Mr. Milind Deora. And may I request the chair for the evening, Mr. Saurabh Srivastava, Chairman, India Operations CA Technologies Incorporation, and Mr. Som Mittal, President, NASSCOM, to kindly join him on the stage. Mr. Srivastava, may I please request you to welcome our chief guest.
Well, good evening, everyone. We're delighted to have you in our midst, Honorable Minister. I thought we'd just kick it off with a few comments on innovation, because the theme of our conference is Imagineering the Future. And I thought, if we look at the future, is there any lesson from the past? And if we just look back 3.5 centuries, not a big time in historical terms, India accounted for 25% of global GDP, same as China, same as all of Europe. Most of us probably don't even know this fact. And that is because we were a very innovative, entrepreneurial country. But with colonization, our own flirtation with socialism, the share went down to 1%. Now, we've made a lot of progress in the last 2 decades since we joined the whole global arena, particularly the last decade. And for the upper half of our population, we've made huge progress and huge gains, and our lives have changed for the better. But the bottom of our population hasn't really been caught up in this. And so we have a challenge. There's a lot for us to do. And whenever you have to do a lot more with a lot less, because we have limited resources, innovation is the only answer. And that is one of the reasons why the government of India itself has focused on it. The Prime Minister created a National Innovation Council, which is being chaired by Sam Petroda. I'm fortunate to be a member. And the focus is to say, how do we introduce innovation in all aspects of Indian life? And we ourselves can see that for those of us in this room, our lives today are immeasurably better. And it's better because of innovation. We've created a $100 billion industry in 2 decades, from 100 million to 100 billion. If you look at the mobile phone that we use, or email, or Google, any of that, it's all because we found a way to combine the dynamism of enterprise with innovation, create products and services that change our lives. The challenge is we have done it using the venture capital model, risk capital, for the affluent. But we haven't applied a way of leveraging innovation and enterprise to solve the problems of the poor. And this is something that the Innovation Council is looking to do. It's actually creating a large fund to follow Professor C.K. Plath's idea of investing in ventures that are both scalable but also profitable. And in the process, today, where we have only 2 classes of capital serving the poor, philanthropy and government grants, and both of them find it difficult to create sustainable enterprises. So they do great work, but you have to replenish the money. When the money stops, the good work stops. What we're trying to do is create another class of capital. So today you have billions and trillions of dollars that goes in to creating products and services for us. We're saying, why don't we create another class of capital that goes into leveraging innovation for the poor in a sustainable way? So you can say to those investors, along with modest financial returns, will give you social returns. And if you succeed in creating this new asset class, then you will have huge impact on the hundreds of millions of poor. So I just wanted to mention that innovation is critical for us, not just in the things we think about, but in what it can do for the bottom half of the population that people haven't thought about. So with that, may I request Minister Deora, if you want to come and share a few thoughts.
Yeah, you can.
Thank you, Mr. Srivastav, Mr. Mittal, friends. Let me firstly say that I'm very happy to be at NASSCOM's India Leadership Forum 2013. I'm especially grateful to Som and to my friend Atul Nishar, who knew I had a travel program overseas, but somehow cajoled me into being here, where I get to meet all of you, meet some of the young innovators. I've been in some ways associated with NASSCOM starting in 99-2000, when your predecessor, the late Devang Mehta, was president. And I remember I had just moved back from the States way before I chose politics as a career option, before I had so much grey hair also. And I would attend NASSCOM's events because I was very keen to start a .com or an e-commerce company, which then morphed into all kinds of different models, from the traditional, of course, IT and IT-enabled space to BPOs to call centers and what have you. But I want to firstly thank you for doing this event year after year in Mumbai. And I say this as a member of parliament from Mumbai because it's important that we continue to give this city some impetus, at least in the services sector. When Som and Atul said to me that I will be here presenting awards to young, bright innovators from around the country, I was thinking of an appropriate quote, because I like to sort of give the audience an inspiring quote. And the only quotation that I could think of was what I remember Charles Darwin having said, which is that there's two kinds of people really in this world, and there's a reasonable person and there's an unreasonable person. And he said that the reasonable man always changes himself to suit the ways of the world, and the unreasonable man does exactly the opposite. But he also went on to say that the world ultimately always depends on the unreasonable man for progress. And to me, innovation actually is about being unreasonable. I can't consider myself an innovator, and I don't consider myself unreasonable either. But being a musician and someone who considers a lot of his heroes as musicians, all my heroes, and most notably a guitar player named Jimi Hendrix, taught me back in the day when I was really young and I started playing that instrument, that innovation is about taking risks. And Jimi Hendrix also inspired the likes of Paul Allen, who then I think donated $35 million to build a museum in his honor in Seattle. But it's always been about risk-taking, and it's been about innovating without perhaps a reward in mind. For some of us, that reward is monetary. For others, it's simply about recognition. But when you really innovate without that reward, I think that's when, great things begin to happen. And just recently, just about 2 weeks ago, I was in New Jersey on work, and I had a chance to visit the legendary Bell Labs. And I actually saw this philosophy at work there. Because
ironically, their next big thing is actually a very small cell site. And it's a small cell site or a BTS, a base transceiver station, which they believe will replace traditional macro sites or mobile towers that exist today. And those small cell sites of theirs will consume less power, they will emit less radiation. And I thought it was very exciting because from an India context, it's something we need desperately in our country. Because we have over 600,000 mobile towers in India that connect all our 900 million wireless subscribers. And here's where it's interesting. With each mobile tower consuming about 8,000 liters of diesel per year. So, innovating with that attitude is what I thought was very exciting. Of course, Bell Labs has made some money, I'm sure, for their parent company. They won some very important awards, Nobel Prizes, Oscar, Grammy. But I think innovation is really about that philosophy. I'm sure businesses who are present here today, with the global downturn and how it affects and impacts your businesses, you're also asking yourselves whether your business models today, even new markets that you're exploring today, will continue to be relevant in 5 years from today. That on its own is an example of innovation. That on its own means innovating to not just be reactive, but to proactively determine what the future will be about. So, I'm really excited to meet some of you to share some ideas that I have. We in government, unfortunately, I'm not sure what Nandan said before me, but we in government tend not to innovate as much as we should, and we tend to be more reactive than we should. And I think Nandan's project is a good example of us actually having taken a call that, look, for a long time we've tried to fix this subsidy burden. We've tried to actually target the real beneficiaries. And now let's use technology and use the power of innovation through technology to actually fix what's not only a governance problem, but it's actually a very large political problem. So it's always good to meet innovators. Maybe, Saurabh, in the Q&A session, we can share more about some ideas. But I'm really happy to be here. Som, I'm coming to NASSCOM's India Leadership Forum after 2000. So now I'm a minister in this department, so I'm very happy that I get to be here. And in case I don't have a chance to wish the innovators who I will be awarding and rewarding, I just want to congratulate them a little in advance. And I'm not sure what the process of selecting and awarding the innovators is, but I want to congratulate not those who I'm going to present an award to, but those who innovated fearlessly, regardless of whether or not they won an award. So with these words, thank you, Som, Atul, for having me, convincing me to change my travel program. Over to you, Saurabh. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Why don't we start the process? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Minister, for sharing your perspective. With this, let's move towards the award ceremony, NASSCOM Innovation Awards 2013. The first category, ladies and gentlemen, it's titled as New Technology Innovation. Please put your hands together for the winner in this category, Vigyan Labs Innovations Private Limited. Can we have the team on the stage, please? They've been awarded as winner in recognition of their breakthrough IPM Plus Intelligent Power Management Software Platform. IPM Plus works across Windows, Linux, and Android and can enable up to 40% power savings in enterprises, IT infrastructure, and end user devices. I now call on stage the runner-up in this category. Please join me in welcoming Intuit India. Can I have the team on the stage? Intuit India. They've been nominated as runner-up for Text Web. Users can easily retrieve information or invoke services on the go with any mobile phone without any internet or data plan. No integration effort is needed by a customer other than to expose their web URL and link it to a text web keyword. It has a high impact potential in India, which has a very large mobile phone market, but relatively small internet penetration. Congratulations to the concerned team. The next category of award is called Process Innovation. Please join me in welcoming the winner in this category, Atos India. They've been nominated as winners for Cloud Orchestration. Cloud Orchestration will help enterprises to achieve seamless integration of business processes spanning multiple applications, clouds, and smart devices. Cloud orchestration will not be a nice-to-have requirement, but a must-have necessity for effective and efficient future business process management. Congratulations. The next category in the series is Business Innovation. Put your hands together for the winner in this category while I call on stage the team from Infosys. The team Infosys. They've been nominated as winners for the Infosys Edge suite of business platforms that help enterprises respond to market needs driven by global megatrends such as digital consumers, smarter organizations, emerging economies, and sustainability. Delivered on the cloud, Infosys Edge platforms deliver guaranteed business outcomes and a real impact to top and bottom lines. All Infosys Edge platforms leverage latest technologies in cloud computing, mobility, big data, rich media, and social media. Congratulations to Infosys. And we have the last award for the evening, which is a special recognition in the same category, which is Business Innovation. Please join me in welcoming the team from Phoenix IT Solutions Limited. They've been nominated as runner-up for M-Power Revenue Protection System. It is a cloud-enabled innovative product of the M-Power suite of Phoenix IT Solutions aimed at streamlining the metering, billing, and collection processes of utilities for their business excellence.
Well, folks, we have time for a few questions. Anybody want to ask any questions? Just raise your hands. Okay, there in the back.
It's always good when few people want to ask politicians a question.
Can somebody get a mic?
I had a question for you, right?
Okay.
You know, people like you who are now joining the government, young people, we have an aspiration that you will probably make all the changes that are required. We all the time keep talking about how we are stuck up with the old ways and so on. How easy it is going to be for you to make some changes?
Well, you know, I've been in government now for a little over a year and a half. I have two ministries, communications and IT and shipping also. But as a member of parliament for the last 9 years, I think that the few areas that I identified as a member of parliament, whether it's issues that I'm interested in from national security to urban development, you know, because India and because governments in India have a plethora of issues before them, priorities tend to change. So we see this in our ministries also. What's your focus today? unlike, say, the private sector, where you know that my focus it's a singular focus. Today, the issue you're focusing on with a scandal or a controversy that breaks out in the media, you tend to sort of shelve that priority and focus on something else. And what I've seen in the entire political process, whether it's as a member of parliament or it's in government, is really sticking to that core area that you believe in and that you set out to achieve. And not being distracted. I think the biggest difference that exists between government and the private sector is the distractions that we face on a daily or a hourly basis. That's where you need to be focused. And that, I think, is a real challenge. It has nothing so much to do with age or with background, but it's really to do with how well organized you are. And I've seen good people in government, I've seen good people in politics with the right intent, but if they are very badly organized, they just can't get the job done because they keep shuffling from one priority to another priority. And sometimes, in politics, it's important to, when you're focused on one priority, although it's not an attractive story and it doesn't get covered as much, to me, what I've learned in 9 years is that I'm doing something right. If it's not getting covered enough by the media or it's not getting highlighted enough, that means it's probably something that is actually creating some value and I should continue to focus on it. That to me is the biggest game changer in this profession. And but I think, with younger people and younger colleagues that I have now in government, there's quite a few of us in government today, we are bringing some of that organizational skill back into governance and back into the decision-making process. And I've actually been a non-believer about how much people like us can do in government, but having seen how we're sort of delivering and getting certain things that we want done, I've started believing a little more in myself. Yeah.
Good. I think there was a question back there. Let's just finish that. Then we'll
Mr. Minister, I asked a question this morning to Professor Ram Saran, and his answer to the question was that he didn't know what to advise. So maybe you can look into this. The question is, now that India has done well and will do well in the IT and IT industry,
stand
my
up,
question is, as you see every day in the news coming out, what as a country we are going to do against the bad guys who are ready to attack your system of IT or data system across the field? Is the government going to take some stand along with the industry that we can seriously look after this problem which might come now or later?
Are you talking about data security?
Overall, infrastructure security as such of data.
I can tell you broadly that what we're trying to do. For instance, if I can wear both hats of DIT, which is the Department of Electronics and IT, and DOT, which is the Department of Telecom, what we're doing at a DOT level, for instance, is we are now spending a lot of USO money, our Universal Service Access Fund money, to build optical fiber network in rural areas. We're spending about $5 billion to connect 250,000 village clusters, panchayats. With that, while we want the data revolution to begin in India and actually be led and initiated from rural areas, unlike voice, which has largely been urban-centric, we see a lot of opportunities within that ecosystem. We see a lot of opportunities to make hardware more affordable. We're even tying that in with this wafer fab policy of ours to create manufacturing of semiconductor chips here. We see a lot of entrepreneurial opportunities in the content space, of course, and in the cloud space, in actually taking companies, governments to the cloud. So, to me, what we're trying to do is look at all the standards in terms of data security. What do we need to do with getting more private companies onto the cloud, getting governments more importantly onto the cloud. And SOM, of course, I think you're part of the committee which Chris Gopalakrishnan heads with our ministry. which will look at these standards. So we are concerned that as a government, that as more and more people will access services, applications through the cloud, we make sure that that data is secure. And of course, from a government point of view, it's even more imperative to make sure that there's confidence with governments and government departments, state or central, to go to the cloud. If that's what you're asking me, I'm not.
Yes, but
Your
are
request,
we going to
I'm sorry,
benchmark?
no, let's just move to the next question, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Gopi Bulusu with.
You have a mic? Can somebody bring him a mic?
There's already a question with a mic.
Yeah, I have a question here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Gopi Bulusu, founder of, founding member at Gravity 2.0. I'd like to ask the minister a question on shipping actually, not on IT. Do you see coastal and inland shipping taking off in a big way in the next 1 year in India?
I don't know if this is the right forum to answer that, but interestingly, when I was at Bell Labs, because I've been asked this question a lot especially by foreigners who say, what's the relation between communications and IT and shipping? And when I was at Bell Labs and they were explaining to us that they had developed the first submarine cable, I said, there it is. That's an example of some merger of the two in some ways. Look, actually the fundamentals of shipping industry are not very different the way I see it from IT, frankly, and as surprising as it might sound. Recently I was in Panama and we went to sign a bilateral treaty with the Panamanian government. And just the way that we have developed India into, an IT hub, from what we were doing, the bad word, which was body shop, to now actually moving up the value chain and re-engineering our business models. Panama did that very successfully in the maritime sector. And I think, to answer your question in terms of will coastal shipping and other things take off in India, I see no reason why, even in the shipping sector, we can't apply some of the lessons from the IT sector to make India an important hub for the shipping sector. And I'll tell you a few reasons why. We have a 7,500 kilometer coastline, all the way from Gujarat to West Bengal. And we are strategically an important place for very important shipping routes, whether it's vessels coming in from Europe through the Suez Canal and going towards East Asia. So there's a lot that we can do, and I think a small country like even Sri Lanka, by tailoring their policies with regards to incentives to the shipping sector, the port sector, have allowed Colombo, for example, to become an important transshipment hub. And we are doing that in India also. I'm personally pushing some of those reforms in the sector. We've managed to do that at Cochin, for instance, which we believe will take a lot of business away from Colombo. But I completely agree with your point that I see no reason why the shipping industry and the maritime industry, really, India can't be a global leader the way we are in IT, or the way a small country with 3.5 million people like Panama has done internationally.
Thank you, sir. I would like to add that there is another connection. A lot of new ships would be designed using IT. So,
I think this would be the last question because he has to leave after this.
Can I hear?
Yeah. Just
over here, Som, this side. I'm here, Vineet. Yeah. Mr. Minister, I think I'm the only competitor to you. I represent a political party, and a straight question to you. What policy do we have to arrest counterfeits in IT? Because we'll be losing a lot of revenue as well as credentials in the international market. And I think as a minister, we would like to address this issue of counterfeits.
To address counterfeits in IT?
Yeah.
You want to...
I think over the years, this is really talking about piracy.
Okay. I know that the government, not just in my ministry, but because content, for instance, is owned by my ministry. It's also owned in some ways by, say, the INB ministry. We have laws in the piracy space. We, of course, need to, as I said earlier, we need to create similar standards and policies for data security. But I know what we're doing with the committee which Chris Gopalakrishnan is heading with regards to cloud. But if there are specific suggestions, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, but just to add and supplement, I think there was a time where piracy was high. We are clearly seeing decline. I think the pricing, there was a time where we had 100% duty on software, which actually encouraged, and I think we made it 0%. We are clearly seeing decline in that happening, and I think, as you said, the laws have become even better.
Okay.
I know this was supposed to be the last question, but I'm going to...
No, but one sec. We have a question from within NASSCOM. Vedashri has a question. We'll just allow that. Yeah.
You're familiar that our industry members, business process industry members, are the back office for the whole world. So when can we expect your ministry to advise your Department of Personnel and your Ministry of Finance so that core business processes are outsourced to the industry in India?
When do we expect the government to outsource more to the industry? Is that what you're saying?
Core business processes like...
Well, I really think that, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think as more government departments, one is move data into electronic form, two is move to the cloud. I think that will throw up a lot of opportunities for the industry. So we are trying to do that. It's not taken off with the speed that we want it to happen. Different governments, different departments react to it differently. We even have a legislation which is in Parliament incidentally, which will make it mandatory for governments around the country, state governments, central governments, local governments, to move more data to convert data into electronic forms. But having said that, can I just say one last parting point that, I think for a long time that the dialogue and the collaboration between government and industry, and I'm saying this from my experience, again, over a decade ago when Devang and I used to meet industry folks a lot then, and it was a fledgling nascent industry. A lot of the collaboration and the focus has really been around fiscal incentives. And today, incidentally, I'm here at the Innovation Awards and talking about innovation. And I really believe in my heart of hearts as a young person that we in India still haven't made India created that environment for innovation and for R&D. I mean, one is to do R&D and innovation in computing and communication technologies. Of course, the other is to do it in areas that will impact India in a much greater way, in recycling waste and things like that, which are actually far more disruptive than communication and computing technologies. But I think what we need to now put our heads together and work on is really how do we build that environment for India to become an innovation hub for the world. And that means everything from improving on our education system, of course creating incentives that get industry to take more products from laboratories to marketplaces, but far more philosophical and even cultural than that is actually creating a society that embraces, we keep talking about it, but we don't do it enough, that embraces change, risk and failure. And that's something we need to really put our heads together and think about, because that's where we'll create the Bell Labs and others of the future. And without that, we'll keep looking at the short-term 2-year, 3-year plan. What can this incentive do? What can that incentive do? And when we really create that make India an innovation hub, I think that's the vision that I see being a game changer for India to compete globally in the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you. We'll take you on that. Since you just mentioned about 99 and 2000 and you were about to get into IT industry yourself, any regrets that you took a different path?
I'm happy I didn't start at .com. But no, it's in some ways it's full circle. It's just that now I'm a minister in this department. But I remember the time. I remember the vibrancy of that time, frankly. And it was all very appealing at the time because this is in the backdrop of, this is 99, 2000. I remember when any company that ended with a .com was being listed on NASDAQ, and China.com, women.com, pets.com. And so we came back with that idea that, this should happen in India. We weren't looking at the fundamentals that there's hardly any internet subscriber base in the country. We hardly have the telecommunications network, but we were on that, the eyeball that was the business model of the time. So in some ways, I'm glad I didn't start at .com. I don't know where I would be now. I wouldn't be fit to be a Minister of Communications and IT if I had a failed .com. But I must tell you this, that I'm very proud, although it's a little late, and I admit it's late, that I recently recommended Devang's name for a posthumous Padma Award on behalf of the Ministry of Communications and IT. And because I remember him very fondly, and I was very fortunate to befriend someone like him who really did a lot for the industry and didn't quite fit the role if you looked at him and you met him, but he still knew how to market it in a very unique way, in a very unique time when there was this confluence of .coms and the IT-enabled and IT sector. And I really believe that we as people involved in this industry shouldn't forget friends like him, especially when he's done so much for the country and for each of us directly or indirectly.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I know you've overstayed till when you said you had to leave. So thank you very much. Let's give him a big hand.
Mr. Deora, thank you so much for agreeing to be here and sharing so much with the audience. Mr. Mittal, may I request you to please hand over, why don't you?